Hey there, what's up? This is Derek Arcuri from Genetec, and if you're watching this video, it means that you've been formally invited to participate in our lead distribution pilot that's taking place only for a select number of our Unified Elite channel partners within the United States. We're excited to make this pilot program available to essentially formally optimize the distribution of qualified leads in order to help drive sales growth for our network of Unified Elite channel partners. So the pilot is really intended to formally distribute leads that have been qualified by Genetec internal sales development representatives. By filling out the form below, you're effectively signing up or at least requesting a sign up to participate in this pilot. The whole goal of this program is to speed up the sales cycle for our prospects by essentially sending vetted opportunities directly to our Unified Elite partners or a subset of our Unified Elite partners for faster conversion. So a few reasons why you may want to participate in this pilot program. One is to gain early access to these vetted and qualified leads without all the traditional steps that Genetec typically goes through. Essentially handing leads off to an account executive for then the account executive to loop in the right partner for the opportunity. This is essentially a fast track process, and who doesn't want high value or high quality vetted leads that are tailored based off of your Genetec product expertise? This is a regional program, so we've essentially defined a list of partners based off of where you primarily operate, and we'll be associating the opportunities from those regions to the qualifying Unified Elite partner. So what I'll quickly spend the next few minutes just explaining how the program works. So Genetec has a lot of different marketing lead magnet channels. It could be web-oriented leads, it could be leads from trade shows and so on. There's a lot of end users that show some sort of interest with Genetec products or services. And what we do is we have a system in place that measures all of those different levels of engagement, interest within the Genetec portfolio, and then automatically qualifies those leads into what we call a marketing qualified lead. So essentially, the marketing department is generating a list of all of the potential end users down to what they consider to be marketing qualified leads. From there, our sales department, our SDR team, or sales development representatives, will reach out to all of those marketing qualified leads to try to land a meeting, a discovery meeting, where they ask a series of questions to ultimately assess how genuine and how big and how qualified these opportunities are, or if there even is an opportunity. Once they have that initial conversation, they will then uh, essentially associate or distribute leads directly to you, the Unified Elite partner, based off of the region of interest. This is where we'll need your attention to make sure you correctly complete the form by listing out a first or secondary sales stakeholder. We need their first name and last name. We need their email address, and we need to ensure that they're constantly monitoring that email address because that is our primary means of communication between the SDR function and your organization. You can elect one sales stakeholder, but you can select a maximum of two sales stakeholders. The reason we do that is to keep the process as lean and as efficient as possible. but it also ensures that if one sales stakeholder isn't available to make that meeting or is on vacation, you have a secondary sales stakeholder available. You may also choose to elect a sales account executive type profile along with a sales engineer type profile so that you have both technical and sales oriented resources available for these transition meetings. So ultimately what the SDR will do is make a judgment call as to whether this prospect is in fact has a genuine opportunity, and they will book a meeting directly in your organization's calendar for the next available slot where everyone is available, or at least one sales stakeholder is available. And we will be using your Microsoft Teams platform to host the meeting. And that is all. It is ultimately the sales stakeholders' responsibility to ensure that prospect is getting the attention and the love that they need. So I'm talking about this booking, Microsoft Bookings calendar integration. I'll tab into that a little bit later. First, I just want to talk about some of the things that you can expect. So your sales stakeholder or stakeholders can expect an email once the transitionary meeting has been booked. They will input their discovery notes, giving a little bit of a context as to what the opportunity is for. And we also encourage that after or before joining the call, that your sales stakeholders do some preliminary research on the organization, and they must read the discovery notes so that the prospect isn't having to repeat themselves by after their initial discovery meeting. We want to offer a seamless experience where the prospect feels like the person that they're speaking to on the second call is ultimately just an extension of the Genetec network. After the transitionary meeting, you can have any subsequent meetings that you want. Genetec is less involved after that initial transition meeting. But what we ask is that the primary stakeholder be responsible for adding in notes within the Genetec portal, to which additional training will be available in the form of a document appended to this form. So what I will also mention at this point is that we will be monitoring the performance of your organization. So we'll be tracking conversion rates and looking at win-loss ratios. So we'll count how many opportunities we have sent over to your organization and what percentage of those closed as won, lost within our CRM system. And your CAE will be including that topic in your monthly and potentially quarterly engagements. We also encourage regular feedback. We'd like to collect regular feedback from you, our channel partners, to ensure that we're improving the process. This is a pilot. This is not something we have traditionally done in the past. It's been a little bit more fluid in the past, and now we're formalizing a new process. So we'd love to get the perspective of the recipients of these leads. If you identify any opportunities for improvement, or all ears, we'd like to hear that, and this is why we're doing an initial pilot rollout. Some program requirements, and then I'll end off with or essentially how to create your Microsoft Bookings link so that our SDR team can book meetings directly in your calendar. So some of the program requirements is that you must maintain your market or geographic presence within the assigned territories. Your CAE will communicate those assigned territories. You must elect a maximum of 2 and a minimum of 1 sales stakeholders or salespeople from your company to essentially be the recipients and accountable for these leads and opportunities. They're personally accountable for the support of the prospect throughout their buying journey. Note that the Genetec SDRs, sales development reps, will communicate directly with your sales stakeholders to a maximum of 2 email addresses to essentially coordinate the prospect transition meetings, and then share discovery notes. We require that these maximum of 2 sales stakeholders must maintain calendar availability, and it's a simple day-to-day process. Whatever calendar they're using for their day-to-day at work, we're tapping into with our Microsoft Bookings link. The SDRs will ultimately have real-time access to these two sales stakeholders' calendars, and they'll make a judgment call as to when is best time to book a meeting based off of the prospect's time and availability and their speed at which they'd like to have their next meeting. If we see that one sales stakeholder is available and the second stakeholder is not available, the SDR will prioritize a meeting with the first stakeholder if the prospect is showing signs of accelerated buying journey, meaning they want to get to the second meeting as quickly as possible. But generally, we'll try to book the meeting with both sales stakeholders. That is, if you elect two stakeholders in this process. Note that you will require a subscription to Microsoft 365. Microsoft Bookings is a module of the broader Microsoft 365 subscription. And so if you're using Microsoft 365 for email, Teams, then or Word, Excel, and so on, then you likely have access to Microsoft Bookings. If you don't use Microsoft 365 or you don't have access to Microsoft Bookings, we will have to find an alternative solution. This does complicate the process, but we're also willing to explore that as an as-needed basis. There are other solutions that are typically paid solutions like Calendly that allows the same functionality where the Genetec SDR rep will be able to access your sales stakeholders' calendars and ultimately book a meeting. They'll try to book that meeting within 5 days, but that's a loose guideline. They're ultimately going to find the time that's best for the sales prospect. The last requirement is that you maintain transparency with your Genetec CAE, your channel account executive, about the progress you're making with these assigned projects, and use the portal as a primary means of documentation. Again, formal documentation is provided in this form. So we hope you're ready to join the program. What I'll do now is simply show you how to create your Microsoft Bookings page. So I'm going to share my screen here. And I will show you how to access your Microsoft 365 account. So this is my Genetec 365 account. And I'm going to click on Bookings. If you don't find it here right away, you can click on Explore All Apps. Once you click on Bookings, you will be prompted to do two things. One is to create a meeting, essentially a meeting, like a type of meeting, I guess. You have your 30-minute meeting or your 60-minute meeting. We encourage a 45 to 60-minute meeting. And what we encourage you to do is skip the personal booking page and jump right to the shared booking pages if your organization is electing two sales stakeholders. This simplifies the process. It's one link for the Genetec sales development representative to use, as opposed to having to look through two links and having to cross-reference based off of availability. So if you're electing two sales stakeholders, click over here, Create Bookings Page, click Start from Scratch. For name, call this a Genetec plus your company name, partner name, prospect transition meeting. You can add a logo if you'd like. This you can leave blank. And input your business hours. This is ultimately going to define when we could book a meeting. This is also based off of your time zone. So if your sales team is available from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., leave it as is. If they're willing to take calls at 7 p.m. at night, you can make that adjustment here by clicking change. Then you're going to invite the secondary stakeholder. So for example, what I'm showing you is something that your primary sales stakeholder will do. Let's assume that my colleague Cheryl Stewart is going to be the secondary sales stakeholder. I'm going to select her as a secondary stakeholder. So Derek I'm pretending to be the primary stakeholder at your organization. Cheryl's a secondary stakeholder at your organization. You could select administrator, so both of them have full access to monitor this page. And then you're going to set up a service. A service is essentially the appointment type. We have, by default, a 30-minute meeting. I encourage you to change that to a 45-minute meeting, just allowing the prospect enough time to have an in-depth conversation. And we can call this Here, a 45-minute meeting. That's just the name of the appointment. And here you're refining again the when this service is going to be available. So Monday to Friday, 9 to 5. And you should select make this a Teams meeting. If you don't select this option, your prospect won't know where to meet you. You would have to update the calendar invite with a replacement or an alternative to Microsoft Teams meeting. The reason why we chose this service is because it's integrated into the Microsoft suite, Microsoft 365 suite. So it's very simple for the SDR to simply select the best available time for when both of your prospects available. And this is a meeting that's taking place on your Microsoft Teams service. And essentially, you're going to review all this and set up ultimately who can book the meetings. So be sure to select anyone. If you leave it at people in my organization, Genetec's SDR team will not be able to access that link. So you have to select anyone who could book with this public service type, and then click create. It'll take a few minutes to create. Once it's created, you will take the link that will be generated and pop it into the end of this Microsoft form so that we keep that in our records and ultimately ensure that when a lead does arrive and the SDR team has qualified the opportunity and think that there's a genuine opportunity available, the SDR, while on that initial discovery call, will book a meeting directly into your sales stakeholders' calendars without notice. They will not send an email to say, hey, are you available next Friday at 2 p.m.? They will just book directly into the meeting, thereby confirming to the prospect that a meeting has been booked with a more qualified senior sales staff member that could speak to the Genetec products of interest and also to your organization's services of interest. So notice that this link is available. Essentially what you're going to do is copy and paste this link into the form so that we have access to this page. Click share to copy it that way. And essentially this is where you would manage the availabilities of the two stakeholders. That link, I'll just show you what this looks like from the SDR's perspective. Oops, I guess I never copied that link. Page. I'm going to copy that. And this is ultimately what our SDR team will see as they're booking these meetings on the spot. So they're going to select the 45-minute meeting service. They're going to also ensure that anyone is available for this meeting, and they're going to look, with the next 3 to 4 days, what's the best time that works best for the prospect. They select a time and they input this information and click book, and then immediately a meeting will be booked in your organizational calendar. So that is ultimately the instructions that we have prepared for you. Again, my name is Derek Arcuri. If you have any questions, my email information is available at the bottom of this form. I encourage you to talk to your channel account executive for any general questions. And if your channel account executive isn't able to answer the question, feel free to shoot me an email and I'll be personally responsible for ensuring the success of this pilot. Thanks very much for your attention, and we look forward to working with you. Take care now. Bye-bye.